Mr. Hal Needham. Breaking the land sound
sound barrier, not the land speed record.
The sound barrier. Being the first to break the sound barrier. How did you get approached by someone saying, "Hey, we'd like you to drive it," or how did that all come about?
No, I met a guy named Bill Frederick, who was an engineer, and this is in my stunt days. And I was introduced to him, and he was building rockets, and he had rockets from this big around, big as a thimble, to that big around, and he was building this car to break the sound barrier. And so I got involved with him, and I started using rockets in the movies. Like in Gator, I put it in a boat. In that pickup truck, I put one in there, and so on and so forth. And I got to know him better and better, and he told me his dream about breaking the sound barrier. And I said, after I directed Smokey, I could be the car owner instead of the driver now. So anyway, I said, hell, let me drive it. So he said, all right. So I went out and drove it, and you saw what happened. Some guy was trying to kill me, poured acid on my parachutes, and why would anybody want to kill me? But anyway.
Whoa, back up, back up, hold on.
I know there's a lot of reasons, but anyway.
Somebody really did try to?
poured acid on my parachutes, because as I went down through there, I had 3 parachutes, one for 600, one for 400, and one for 100.5. And I hit it, and nothing happened. I didn't have to look, I knew where they were. And I hit the second one, nothing happened. I hit the third one, nothing happened. And I looked out, and here come the end of the dry lake, and I said, well, I'm in a world of hurt, you know. But anyway, so I did that, and that was the end of that. We had to take the car back, magnaflux it and everything. So then when I started getting some bucks off of Smokey and the Bandit, I went to Bill and I said, why don't we build that car? And I think I'm going to be too busy to drive it, but we'll find somebody and go break the sound barrier. And so that's what we did.
What's one of your favorite stories of working with the Duke?
Oh, with the Duke? Oh, man. I did 10 movies with him, and Duke is John Wayne. I did 10 movies with him, two just as a stuntman, but I coordinated 8 of them. I guess in my book, I talk about showing John Wayne how to throw a punch. We were doing, I forgot the show now, but anyway, he had a fight doing, he was throwing a punch. He was throwing the punch the wrong way, and you people, some of you know, some of you don't. But if this is the guy you're going to hit, the camera has to be behind you. You can throw the punch here, and that's good. But if you throw the punch here, the camera can see it's a miss. So anyway, he kept throwing the wrong one. And I said, Duke, Andy McLaughlin was directing, and I said, Andy, he's throwing the wrong damn punch. Let me show you. He said, no. Andy didn't want to mess with him. Finally, I just went on and I said, hey, Duke, you're throwing the wrong damn punch. He looked around me and I said, here's what you want to throw. And I threw it, and the operator said, oh, that's good. That's a hit, Al. And I said, yeah, I know. Duke said, let me see. He got up, did it. Cameron said, fine. So we were in Mexico, and Duke, in Durango, Mexico, and there's nothing to do down there on nighttime. So every Saturday, Duke would throw a party at his house, and stuntmen were always part of his entourage. And so anyway, I walked in the house that night, and he had about 6 before I got there, I think. And he walked over, and he was big. He stood above me 6 or 8 inches anyway. And he just wrapped his arm around my head and stuck his finger in my face and said, don't you ever embarrass me in front of my crew like that again. Do you understand? And I said, yes, sir. He took it and he gave me a Dutch rub, just Dutch rub the hell out of my head, turned me loose, and he said, good going, Hal. From that day on, he and I were like that. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Time for me to leave.
I think it was 1957.
Huh?
I think it was in 1957. I saw that show. You asked for it.
Yeah.
And that's the day I decided I wanted to be a stuntman. And a few years later, at the age of 16, I became a stuntman and have been one now for 47 years. And you, sir, are my hero. And I want to shake your hand before the day is over.
Thank you, sir.
Your book, one of the more memorable.
sorry?
In your book, you talked about how you escaped Czechoslovakia from the invading Russians.
Yeah.
How did you manage that?
My wife comes over on Friday night. I just had dinner reservation. We went to dinner, came back. Next morning, McClarty and I get up to go to work. We only have to go about a block. We get there, there ain't a damn soul there. Pretty soon I see my driver and my interpreter on the other side of the river, and she's going, Jinsky. They call me Jinsky because of jeans. And she came over and she said, I said, what the hell's going on? She said, the Russians invaded. I said, what? She said, the Russians invaded. She said, you got to get back to the hotel where the rest of the Americans are. So anyway, I walked in the cabin, my wife was, and I said, pack as soon as you can because the Russians invaded and we got to get back. She was ready before I was. I mean, she that's the fastest I ever seen a woman pack in my life. We get to the hotel and they're having discussions what to do and so on and so forth. And McClarty and I talked a little bit and I said, shit, McClarty, we can get out of here, you know. First of all, he and I had a motorcycle, a cross-country motorcycle, I said, and we'd race her, so I knew I could put my wife and kid on with me, and he'd put his wife on behind him, and we'd be gone. Anyway, at the meeting, I said, I think if we took the cabs, which we were using taxis to haul the cast and crew back and forth to the location, I said, if we got all those cabs to agree to drive us, I said, we'll get some gasoline from the embassy, and we'll get them drive us out of here to Austria. And a waitress comes out from the hotel, and she says, can I go with you? I looked at McClarty, my wife, and his wife, and they said, why not? And I said, sure, get in. So she got in. We get out, we work our way through Prague and all that kind of stuff. We get out to the border, the Austrian border, and we have to take a little dirt road. My driver captain knew that country like the back of his hand. We took this little dirt road and got way out there, and there was a shack with a little 60-watt bulb on it, and 2 guards, and they were Czech. They weren't Russians yet. They hadn't got that far out. And they wanted to see our passports. So we all had passports, but I had my contract, my SAG contract. My wife had it in her purse, and this waitress didn't have any passport or papers or anything. Shit, I just took that and I said, this belongs to her. And he just shook his head in the back, and she was on her way. So that's how we got him out. They said, you can't take the cars, you'll have to walk. And in the book, I also say this, that it was about 600-700 yards across this wash. And I've been married 3 times. That's the longest walk I ever took. Whew. My favorite actor was Wayne, the Duke. You know why? He was a dedicated filmmaker. He wasn't, as a star, he wasn't afraid to help an electrician load a lamp on a truck. He wasn't afraid if the car stuck in the sand to help push it out. He was dedicated to making film. And that's the reason he liked me, because he knew my dedication. And he could see what I did on the set and everything else. He knew my dedication. He was my favorite person to work with.
Thank you, Hal, for being here. It's really
All right, thank you very much, folks. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You want to